Are you looking into the camera? No.
Sometimes when I talk to them,
To
kind of
them?
just like
Who's them?
the listeners,
The fans.
the fans. Do I have fans?
Yeah.
I have fans.
You have fans.
Are you a fan?
I'm a fan.
Are you a fan?
I'm a big fan.
Is that why
Number
you're
one
here
fan
today?
supporter.
Yeah.
I've even got a notepad that has your name on it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, for
you want to
real.
show everybody?
Hold on. See? I think that's pretty cool.
Where did you have that made?
Merch.
So you know when you're doing all your big $1 million business meetings?
Yeah, I whipped that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God! And
Yeah.
everyone says, "Who's Lazo?"
And everyone goes, "What an incredible notebook!" And I'm like,
Wow.
"Scan it."
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like,
So-
the QR code at the back. Scan it.
So do you tell them who made the art?
Yeah. And then they asked me about the seagulls, and I go, "We don't talk about that."
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. So, hi.
Hello.
Welcome to this really energetic, nice podcast. Great
Yeah.
vibe we got going here.
Yeah.
Tara,
We're vibey
welcome.
people. What can I
Welcome,
say?
Tara.
Thank you.
Tell everybody what you do and how you run the corporate world.
How I run the corporate world.
Yes.
From corporate saddie to corporate baddie.
Yeah. What a slogan.
What a slogan.
What a slogan.
That is quite a good slogan, isn't it? That's going
That
to be the
is.
name of my first book. From corporate saddie to corporate baddie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any time frame on that?
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
It'll pop up when it needs to pop up.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Should I run with that joke of corporate saddie?
Corporate saddie to corporate baddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, so when you first
Do what you
started as a
like.
corporate saddie,
As a corporate saddie. Is it? Yeah.
how did that happen?
I did an apprenticeship before. I don't know if you remember this. Did we speak about this?
I'm not sure.
My apprenticeship before. So
But the listeners are important and they don't know you.
that's so true.
Right,
Should
I know you,
Do I
but
give
they
an
don't.
intro? Do I give a?
This is your intro.
This is my intro.
This is your big moment.
Oh my god! I should have.
We are going
better,
viral. We are going viral.
We are going viral at this.
This is so
because I
good.
say something completely absurd and get myself fired, and then need everyone to back me towards why I
Yeah.
shouldn't get fired. Okay.
And then we'll have Tara's podcast.
Tara's podcast.
Tea time with Tara?
Tea time with Tara.
That is good.
We've spoken about this before.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
because I want a tea shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want a cat cafe.
Cat.
Oh gosh.
It's a little bit gross, don't you think?
But no,
Cats and food and
but I like cats.
yeah, but I just don't feel like the two.
Tell everyone about your
Um,
introduction into the world.
Introduction to me. This is so exciting. Okay, this is gonna be a long podcast.
Why was that funny?
I don't know where to start. I'm thinking about what my like bios have always been, and my bios have always been like I'm the definition of East meets West,
Okay.
which I think is fair enough. Typical Middle Eastern background, was supposed to go into like medicine, pharmacy. Realized actually science is not the place to be. Science didn't accept me as a person, and just wasn't.
Look at them now. You know, look
Yeah.
at science now.
Look at science now.
Yeah.
Science,
Mhm.
tech, nowhere I'd rather be.
Yeah.
Screw that. So I did science at sixth form. Did a great job of that.
Yeah.
And then kind of ended up in a depression pit because I was like, can't go to uni, don't want to do pharmacy. So ended up doing like waitressing jobs, to be honest. And Middle Eastern parents, that wasn't the most.
So
Best
right
thing.
now,
Yeah.
just a minute. So the timeline is
Timeline.
Tara at 17, 18 at college.
Sixth form.
Didn't really sixth form college, same thing, right?
No, sixth form's at school. College is independent.
Right.
That's how
okay.
it runs in Derby anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't going too well on the academic front.
It was up until sixth form when it was sciences, and then
Yeah.
it went downhill.
Yeah, but that's when it matters, isn't it?
Oh, ouch. Okay. Yeah.
You
yeah,
saw your grades,
sure.
you're like, it's not looking good, guys.
It's not looking good.
It's not
guys.
looking
Yeah,
good,
you could
guys,
enter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Add that mu into there.
So,
So
college
sixth
wasn't what you wanted. Sixth form was not what you wanted.
form. Yeah.
When did you realize you could do an apprenticeship?
Okay, so I dropped out first year, and then my stubborn ass was like, no, I'm going to do science. So I then went to college. Was there for probably about 6 months, and then randomly in one of my lessons just stood up and went, I've got a dentist appointment. And my teacher was like, you've what? And I was like, I've got a dentist appointment. And he was like, Tara, let's go talk outside. So went outside, and he was like, you are my top history student. You've not got a dentist appointment. Go back in. And I was like, I'm leaving college.
Why was the history teacher in the science class?
It wasn't science. I'd picked history as an A-level. Yeah. So I'd picked history as an A-level, biology and chemistry. So history I knew was
And one day
easy.
you were just sick of it.
History I knew was an easy A star. Biology and chemistry was obviously the ones that was
Easy A star.
easy A
Did we
star.
all just get that flex?
Yeah, easy
What
A
a
star.
flex.
Easy A
That is
star.
a
I
meme.
should have picked English.
You're
But...
like, oh, you'll love this. Do you remember The Apprentice?
Yes.
Junior Apprentice.
No.
The Indian kid who was like, I've got 9.5 A stars.
Oh no, I've not seen that. But there is a, you know,
You let Lord Sugar down.
I know, don't. I love that man.
I know you do.
I love that man.
I know.
There was a, you know, for A-level results, there was a girl being interviewed by the news, and she goes, oh, you want to know what my grades are? 4 A stars, like that. And it always makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, you flex that shit.
Yeah, you flex. You worked hard for them A stars.
Do you want to know my results? 4 A stars.
4 A stars?
I love that shit.
What are the real results? We don't have to talk
We
about that. We don't have to talk about that. So I want to know the context for why you wanted to get up there, tell everyone that you didn't want to do college anymore. Sixth form.
I just decided that it just wasn't for me.
But why wasn't it for you? I know the answer.
Yeah.
But for those listening, why wasn't it for you?
Science wasn't for me. I think I'd picked science originally because your parents, Middle Eastern parents, like I said, is science, right?
This is very true, yeah.
Yeah. And I realised actually I don't want to do science. And even if I did, I'd be a glorified shopkeeper. No offence to pharmacists, I think you're all great. But it's in like that's what my role would be and how my life would be. And that just isn't what I'd want. You might want to cut that out as well, actually.
What do you mean?
Calling pharmacists glorified shopkeepers.
Oh, it's fine. I call them drug dealers.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
legal drug dealers.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.
So now we're going a bit further down the timeline.
Okay. How
you discovered this apprenticeship at IBM.
So I then ended up waitressing at like 3 different places, Derby Football Stadium being one of them. And there was this one restaurant and a guy came in and was just talking to me. And to be fair, every waitressing job I've ever had always ended up with a job offer of like a different like business or whatever. So I've got the gift of the gab. You're just like, oh my God.
It's great.
Yeah, so then I got a phone call and they were like, your number's been given to us and this company really, really wants you, so come join. And I was like, not interested. Don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do that. So anyway, I went for an interview. Turned out to be one of my friends' dads who had obviously seen me at the restaurant and thought, why isn't she doing something with her life? Like, let me get her into my company.
It's a bit rude.
Yeah, basically.
But in a good way.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. Biggest character development lesson. Worst apprenticeship out there. I was getting paid £3 an hour.
Wait, which one was this?
This is the first ever apprenticeship.
Oh, we don't have to name what it actually was.
Yeah.
So you didn't go to buy IBM initially?
No, I didn't go to IBM initially. So I joined this apprenticeship firm that was a like startup legal firm. And after about a year, they were like, Tara talks and she talks a lot and she's good with people. So they made me a legal advisor, which was crazy because I was 17, 18 at the time. And the youngest one there, only one without a law degree, and I was smashing out stupid money a month. So don't know if you've heard of them before. And they were like, they were basically the team that I was working for. And then I just hated the culture. You know, the whole like, we have family here. And
the bullshit.
Yeah. Awful company. I remember my manager sat me down once, my first manager, and was like, oh, actually, you know what? Too traumatizing to even say. I'll give you an example, right? So one of my other managers, actually, we were sat in a meeting. It was a glass room. He stood outside and he stared at someone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I always do this," and I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because it makes that person nervous, thinking that we're talking about them and that they're going to lose their job. It makes them work harder." I was like,
"That's one way to get someone traumatized."
This is not the kind of company I want to work for. Yeah.
Wow.
At what, 17, 18? Horrific.
Very.
Horrific.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you left.
Yeah.
On to better things.
Not very well, because they then wanted 10 grand from me.
Why?
Have I not told you this before?
Not the 10 grand part.
So basically, I'd signed a contract at the age of 17 saying that if I left, I would pay them back my training fees.
Oh, because they waived that for you.
Well, the thing is they never gave me any training.
So I
have no formal qualifications from them. Obviously the level 3 apprenticeship, but apprenticeships are funded through the government anyway, so that wasn't through them. But they claimed that a legal advisor I shadowed for a week would have made 10 grand otherwise, and that's why I had to pay them £10,000 back.
And did you?
My mum started paying them back actually, because they would not leave me alone.
Right.
Like they literally harassed me. Bearing in mind, I'm literally 18 at this point. So like, Still pretty young. Had no idea what the contract was, and I don't know why I signed it really. In the
Could
first
we
place.
could we claim against them for ill advising you into signing a contract?
Possibly.
No, I genuinely think we could.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard back from them since. This podcast doesn't get them to remember me and come back.
Well, you've paid them, right?
No. So I started paying them off and then thought, what the hell am I paying them for?
Okay.
Because they didn't even pay me. I was on £3 an hour and I was hitting targets. So they
That
slashed.
sounds bad.
Yeah, I was hitting targets so well that they slashed my commission from 1% to 0.5 without telling me because they didn't want to pay me.
I swear you could sue them for that. If you have the relevant evidence for it. Anyways, I want to know how you started at IBM.
So I dropped out of that place. I remember I remember I handed my notice in and one of the directors pulled me into her office and she was like, you need to understand, you're a very, very small part of a very, very large machine. And I was like, is this your attempt of making me stay? And she was like, your dad can pay the fee. She was like, you've got two options here. Either you pay the £10,000 or you stay. And I was like, well, it looks like I'm going to have to somehow pay you the money that you've never even given me in the 2-3 years that I've been here. So then I called my Middle Eastern dad, my very Middle Eastern dad, because she was like, your dad, call him, see what he has to say. And my dad was like, am I on loudspeaker? And I was like, have I told you this?
No.
And I was like, okay, you're on loudspeaker. And he goes, Tara, go get your things, leave, and tell them they can fuck off. And I was like, bearing in mind, we don't swear, right? Like, that's crazy. And I was like, okay. And I got up, took my things and left and just didn't really go back. That's when they continued
harassing you?
Yeah. And then I took a gap. I'd applied for IBM, had my interview already at the stage, but hadn't heard back from them. So then I applied for IBM whilst I was still working with them. And then, yeah.
Tell everybody what IBM is.
International Business Machines, massive tech company, really, really big in America.
I heard they sent someone to the moon.
They did. So they helped, they did all the tech, computing fun stuff to send the first man into the moon, created the barcode.
So you're basically saying for all those conspiracy theorists out there that someone did go to the moon and IBM was a part of it?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I am.
Just in case anybody...
Yeah. IBM did do that.
When you first started at IBM, what part of it made you more comfortable?
Yeah.
And why is it you could stick to that? But up until then, you hadn't found anything that was kind of in your niche.
That's true. Have I found something that's in my niche?
Well,
is that what you're suggesting?
Let's put it this way. You've been there for 3-4 years now?
Nearly 4 years, yeah.
And you've done multiple jobs. This job has actually changed a lot of aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And you've been happy to do so and adapt and move around.
It's true.
And it's stressful, but you know you're a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And you have like 21 Grammys off it.
21 Grammys,
which we'll talk about later.
Awards.
You want to stay tuned for this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe you have found your niche, or at least for now.
Yeah. Possibly.
So what's making you stay? What do you like about IBM?
Yeah, it's the fact that you get to really choose kind of the projects that you work on. So like during COVID, getting to work on like the COVID app, for example, the NHS track and trace app.
Oh, you guys were working on that?
Yeah, that's us.
Wow.
That's us, baby.
Damn.
Yeah.
IBM doing bits.
I did the testing for that. So if it's not great, apologies. I did do the software.
I'm sure it was great.
Yeah. Did you download it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly, you know.
Possibly.
I mean, if you did it, definitely.
Yeah.
But did you tell me that you did it?
Possibly not. No.
So I don't know.
Yeah, not something that really.
Carry on.
But yeah, like I also worked on a project, NHS, working on the first ever network for women of colour within digital health, which is really cool actually, because it's a lot of women, obviously at NHS, you know, minority ethnics, there's a whole thing going on there, obviously. So it was really nice to be able to help actual women of colour within the NHS become a little bit more digitally savvy and maybe go into more technical roles.
So what, did you train them or did the...
Created an actual shadowing network, which basically brought technical individuals and individuals within the NHS together.
So after you created this app for women in colour, which is big, by the way, because we're talking about...
Shadowing programme.
Right. It's a day and age right now where we are trying to empower people.
Yeah.
To feel a bit more part of like society, to get more job roles and to do better out there. Because everyone or most people believe that right now or previously the industry has been catered to English people. So we're pushing for the other side now to create more equality of opportunity.
Yeah, true.
I remember you telling me that at IBM, you were setting up things like group chats and activities for all the ethnic minorities, for the Muslims.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah. So obviously, like we've said, IBM, very big company. Like we've achieved things that are crazy. Like putting the man on the moon is like an insane thing to achieve, right? But when I joined, there just wasn't much of like an ethnic minority presence there. So I created the first ever ethnic minority group for early professionals. And then we went on to do the first ever Ramadan event for IBM UK and I. Obviously, we've got IBM in Dubai and stuff, which I'm sure they would have done like Ramadan events and
Yeah, they do it there anyway.
before. But it's in like for IBM UK and I, like for it to not have like a faith presence, I just thought was like crazy. And obviously, really new into my apprenticeship, really new into IBM. That's basically what I did, and I guess that's kind of where my brand started as well. Was like a lot of D&I, ethnic minority. It was BAME was a term that we used then. Apparently, you're not allowed to use it anymore.
You can't say BAME?
Can't use BAME anymore.
Can't use anything anymore, I swear.
Can't use anything anymore.
Yeah, you can't.
Because we were the BAME group, and then we went into embrace race.
BAME group, that was the name of my WhatsApp chat.
Was it?
Last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Not allowed to use that anymore. Probably change that. Think of something else to come up with.
Well, yeah, some guy who is not as good as coming up with names as I am.
Clearly.
He changed it to architecture, like torture.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it was so basic. He knows who he is if he's listening to this.
Boring.
The BAME group was a much better WhatsApp
It was.
name. And we were all BAME.
Yeah, well, I gathered.
Yeah. We might have had a token English person in there.
Ally.
Yeah, maybe.
An ally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Active, you know.
Right. Even though we're finding this in a jokey way, which is brilliant. I love the vibe of the podcast. Listen, you actually making a difference at IBM, and it's such a big company.
Yeah.
So for something like this to happen, surely it propelled you into some of your awards and.
Yeah, possibly. I did, the year that it was still called the BAME Awards, I did win the BAME Awards.
You did win the BAME
I did.
Award.
It's now a multicultural award.
Were you the first ever Kurd?
I don't know.
Do you know any other Kurds at IBM?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
So you're the only Kurdish person, as you know.
At IBM?
As far as you know.
Yeah. Actually, come and
Nice.
think of it, that's a bit crazy,
That is
isn't it?
sick.
I don't know any of the...
My G. Represent.
I know. You know what? If there's any other Kurdish person at IBM watching this...
Yeah, get onto us.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do a podcast in Kurdish. No?
English.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because supposedly your English isn't... your Kurdish isn't
My
that
English
good.
isn't great. Yeah, my English isn't too good. I mix it in with
Your
like a
Kurdish
few
is
Kurdish
fine.
words.
I think the thing with your Kurdish is...
I've got
is
an
that-
accent, a very strong English accent.
Do you know what it is as well?
Yeah.
You've moved out
Yeah.
and you're no longer constantly around your brother and your mother.
Yeah.
So you're always speaking English.
It's true. It's true. I
Yeah.
am.
Okay. Do you think
Yeah.
IBM does a good job at representing all races?
I just think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done within the tech sector when it comes to ethnic minorities. There are some companies that are a lot better at it. I think EY is a prime example. They really are the forefront of when it comes to especially faith. So like Ramadan events, it was World Hijab Day the other day.
Is that such a
And
thing?
It is.
Wow.
It is. It was last Monday or last Wednesday. Sorry, last
When is
Wednesday.
there going to be a World Lazo Day?
Whenever you decide to make one. Your
Yes.
birthday.
Same day the podcast was launched.
Boom.
2 years ago.
Boom.
World Lazo Day.
Sorted.
January the 8th. Making a difference.
Be there or
Yeah.
be square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Do you get why that saying's a thing?
No.
There or be square?
No.
Because if you're not there, you're not around.
Oh.
So it's be around or be
That's
square.
nice.
Cool it up.
6th of February is the
Yeah.
day I learned. The first time I heard that saying, it was on a Simpsons episode.
Really? Be there or be square?
Yeah.
Sounds like something Bart would say.
No, it was an advertisement for
Oh.
a tech convention.
Oh, okay.
For like a Comic-Con tech convention. And it was
Haven't
like
been to
proper
one of
taking the
those.
piss out of Star Wars and shit. It was the intro of the Simpsons episode. Anyways, it's not pop culture.
No.
So-
Sorry. Apologies.
Why? Here's a more direct and better question. Now, we touched on it at the beginning of the podcast where you said Middle Eastern parents
Yeah.
not really into their children doing apprenticeships. And they probably don't know much about it either. That's probably one of the reasons, right?
Mm.
But why is that? How can you or I, or me,
Yeah.
myself, and I,
Mhm.
influence more people of ethnic minorities
Yeah.
into the apprenticeship industry? Because it's great.
Yeah, you're right. I think big misconception is if you think about it as well, it's like for ethnic minorities, not speaking for all, but if we think back into Kurdistan as well, all of our parents pretty much did degrees. Like, is that
They either did or didn't. Yeah.
they either did or didn't? But isn't like degrees was really the only thing.
There's
that
no
they...
apprenticeships in Kurdistan.
No. Like it was like my parents, for example, met at uni doing
Oh
a degree.
wow.
Yeah.
They were uni lovers.
They were uni lovers.
And now they're UK lovers.
And now they're UK lovers.
There's probably better ways to word that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Jeez, though.
So like for them, they were a little bit like, well, if we've done uni, we've like sacrificed all this and come to the UK. The least that our kids can do is do uni and like become something of themselves. And like, I suppose the idea is that if you don't go to uni, you don't make something of yourself.
Yes, that is it's for the average person, it can be harder to make something of yourself these days if you don't go to uni. Because the job market is trash, right? People can't just leave high school and college and get a good job like they used to 30, 40 years ago. I've met countless people who are only about 20 years older than me and have told me that they didn't go to university. They got themselves a job and then they got themselves a mortgage. And now, I don't know, they're in their 40s, 50s, they have 2 free homes. And do you know what I mean? Like the job market was more stable, so you didn't have to rely on uni. Whereas now, kids might not like the idea of studying for an extra 3-4 years, but they still have to because their job prospects are limited. But apprenticeships are opening another door for them.
Let me throw this out to you then. Say, for example, you're hiring, right?
Yeah.
And you're hiring in your field, which
architecture.
I'm sure, yes, everyone knows what it is that you do. And you've got 2 candidates, right? Both have got same kind of like you've interviewed them both great, but the difference is that one went through the apprenticeship pathway, so they've got the same degrees, same credentials, same everything, except one of them has already got 4 years in the industry, created a network, gained money as well, so already knows how to like deal with like their own finances and stuff, knows what the industry is like because has been working in it for 4 years and has been working with industry leads too.
I'm not going to lie to you, that is a very, very good point.
Who are you going for?
Architecture is a bit different though. So with your job role, apprenticeship might actually be 100% better than a degree.
Yeah.
We don't know. We can debate that, right?
Yeah.
Architecture though, there's very few architectural apprenticeships. Yet. And so there's 2 ways. Let me get this here. I've got the notes here. There's the level 6 architectural assistant, which takes about 3 to 4 years to complete. And that makes you a part 1. So technically what I was at the end of my degree.
Yeah.
And then there's level 7, which is another 3-4 years, and that qualifies you for part 2 and part 3. So by the end of all of this, by the end of 7 to 8 years, same duration roughly as university, you come out as a architect.
Okay.
Which one would I prefer to employ? That's a very interesting question. The business answer would be the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
The apprentice. You're right, they've made money. They've had more experience in the real world because it is actually an adjustment that no one talks about. From going to uni and relying on part-time jobs and bursaries to actually now learning how to manage your salary. Because you go essentially from making less than 10 grand a year to maybe over 20, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the apprenticeship would be better to employ. But would I rather take the student
who has no experience in comparison?
Well, no, they would have to have experience.
So not
so with architecture,
in comparison.
With architecture, even with the academic route, you still, by the time you're qualified, you need at least 2 years of in-firm experience registered with the RIBA.
Okay.
So both actually have experience. I think the reason why I would prefer the student is one main reason.
Yeah.
Architecture school is much more expressive.
Okay.
You can do certain things that you can't do in the real world. And because of this idea of having to express yourself, you've designed different types of buildings. You've probably made a better variation of models. You probably know more than one software. Whereas if I am just doing the apprenticeship route in my firm, I probably know basics of construction really well. I know how to use Revit. I know how to laser cut. But the expressive stuff, the fun stuff, the things that might lead to a crazy ass design that might change something might not be within the psyche of the apprentice, because chances are they've spent a lot of their time just working on very generic jobs, which business wise,
let me challenge that.
go on.
So a big misconception is that the degree doesn't offer the exact same thing. So by the end of my degree apprenticeship, I will gain the exact same degree as somebody that would have done that full time. We'd have covered the same content. We'd have done the same thing.
But in a longer period.
Not necessarily. Rather than having to learn
you're at university part-time.
It is part-time.
So that means your degree will take 4 years, not 3.
It's a fast track. So it'll actually only take 2.5.
Like Disneyland, where you...
Yeah, basically just pay a little bit extra.
Yeah. Jeez, IBM pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, but the misconception is that
you're kind of short. Can you go on the rides?
I don't know. Do you reckon? I think I should be okay. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a misconception. So, say for example, what subjects would you say, or what roles, careers would you say actually apprenticeship doesn't work for? You need a degree for it.
Well, looking at the actual landscape, artistic fields don't always have too many apprenticeships. Architecture doesn't have too many apprenticeships at all.
Okay, artistic.
Although it is actually kind of agreed upon that it would be a great way to become an architect. So what I was saying earlier was to push the narrative. I think at the beginning, had I had the option of doing an apprenticeship, I might have taken it. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. Because architecture school is probably the hardest masters you can do, right?
Yeah.
But it's also really enjoyable.
Would have IBM been an option for me if the apprenticeship wasn't a thing?
For you, no, because you didn't want to go into academia.
No, but would have it been for an ethnic minority in the first? Would it be more accessible?
No. This is where we get cultural with the conversation.
Because realistically speaking,
so you had to make a breakthrough.
Yeah. So it's very much like breaking those barriers down to be able to get in. Because I wouldn't have been able to go in as an actual, like a professional, because I didn't have the background, I didn't have the credentials for that. So even if we're looking at apprenticeships from that perspective, but the thing I was going to go on to is like medicine tends to be the one that people are like, you could never do an apprenticeship for that. Solicitor.
Yeah, I feel like you can't really practice like
why not
how to be a doctor in person.
Not?
You could fuck up maybe for one.
No.
Hey, like, today is your chance. Do you want to cut the valve?
Not even, or like solicitor, for example. So in September this year,
that could be an apprenticeship, I think.
It is an apprenticeship. So September this year, they're trialing out the medicine apprenticeship, which means that individuals can go in and become doctors. They won't have the student loans. They'll get paid for it. They'll get to work and do the same degree at the same time, and they're getting paid for it. So like, why wouldn't you do that? So they get more active time. They're obviously not going to go into surgery and start doing the things straight away, but they're going to be able to work with people and actually see the way that they're working.
Could that potentially make the NHS more or less efficient?
More efficient, surely, because they're in need of people.
But what if they're
a way to get people in quicker. Like as an apprentice, the first things that they'll probably be doing is like more
bringing coffees and stuff.
No, I think that's such a misconception. Nobody has ever asked me for a coffee. Nobody would ever want to, really.
Have you ever made anyone bring you a coffee?
My first ever apprenticeship is I was making teas and coffees constantly. Has anyone... Oh, yeah, a few people. You know what? One of the directors always used to buy me coffee whenever we had our one-to-one mentor sessions as well. And I used to think, am I not the one that's meant to make coffees?
How did your parents take it when you first said you can do an apprenticeship?
My parents were like, oh my God, she's actually going to do something that isn't waitressing. And I think it's sad as well because they always thought I had so much potential as well. So
I mean, you're fulfilling potential right now.
Yeah.
21 Grammys and counting.
Yeah. You know, my dad called me the other day and he went, Hera. And I was like, Kher. And he was like...
How Kurdish is all of that?
He was like, you've not posted on LinkedIn in a while. And I was like, eh? He was like, I've not seen anything from you on LinkedIn. I was thinking, Pops, give me a second. It's only been like 5 minutes since I won the last joking. But yeah, it went from them being like, what is an apprenticeship? Bit skeptical, what on earth is going on? To, oh my God, my daughter does some really cool stuff. Like she works on some really cool projects.
But I'm intrigued. In your father's field, wouldn't he have met apprentices and wouldn't have been a bit more familiar with it?
No.
So it's a proper degree thing.
My mum obviously works more in like college and education and does that kind of thing. So she had heard of it. But I think the misconception is if I say apprenticeship, what's the first thing you think of?
Skill jobs.
There we go.
Which I'd pay great, by the way.
Do pay great.
Yeah.
Maybe not initially.
I mean, I think initially they probably pay more than most graduate jobs as well.
Well, the thing is as well is that as an apprentice, once you get to the same stage as a graduate, you get paid more than them.
Yeah.
Graduates,
and you've already been making money.
And you've created the net. Do you know how important that network is? Like, you get to work with some of my mentors are like industry leads. These guys are
nice
like...
flex.
Yeah.
What a flex.
I like
it.
guys.
I shout out to them.
Yeah. But like some of them are super like a really. One of my mentors for a while was IBM CTO.
Okay.
Like that's crazy.
I don't know what that is.
Chief Tech Officer.
Oh wow. Big up.
If I
But
did
when
an
you say
apprenticeship,
mentoring, you mean a proper way as well, like looking after you.
yeah, sponsorship.
Because I did a mentorship at an architecture firm once. It was horrible.
Well, there's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship, isn't there? Mentorship is the person, I'll give you advice. Sponsorship is, I'm going to back you. You want to go for promotion? I've got you. And I think that's so important, especially when we're talking about ethnic minorities in this space. We need that kind of push.
You need a voice at the table.
Yeah. You need someone to be, there's that really important thing, which is you need to make sure that you've got a team around you that when you're not in the room, they're speaking up for you and they're the ones that are putting your name forwards for opportunities. And it's the guys that are at the top that can do that for you. It's the relationships that you're creating at the top with individuals that have worked in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years that can go, oh, this job's come up and we're looking for someone. Tara should be great for it. That's what she wants to do.
Perfect. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
I had very similar experiences to you initially. It's just that I pushed through and it worked out for me in a different way.
You're a bit older.
I'm a bit older. But what I mean by that is we were both at one point at the crossroads of we don't want to carry on in academia anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You fully left and you are now working for a big major company at IBM. I stayed. I was convinced to.
Bye.
I would... Mother.
Okay.
Primarily.
Yeah.
Definitely my mother primarily. However, I would actually also say I kind of got lucky. Because had I not been unsuccessful with my initial A-level result, then I would not have leaned towards architecture. I can say for me is a million times better. Look, I'm like you. I got an ADHD shit. I don't sit there and put my head into a book consistently for months on end just so I can do an exam, which my dyslexia will probably read wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to sound stupid. I'm a smart guy. I've got great grades.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would not have gotten to architecture school. But it's harder when you have like the dyslexia and stuff to be able to thrive and to look good in your field. So it's easier for me to make a mistake than it is a person who doesn't have that issue. The point is, with architecture, I get to be expressive. I can be creative, right? So, two parallels, the same. It worked out for me and it worked out for you, but in two different fields.
Fun fact as well, I actually didn't find out that I had ADHD until I joined IBM, which is interesting because, yeah.
I could have told you.
I think quite a few people could have told me.
Having said that, I didn't know I was dyslexic until the third year of my degree.
Really? How did you find out?
I did a test. Well, basically, I think I was doing some psychological research.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like. This is one of the reasons I have a podcast. I love to just sit and research stuff. So I love learning, but I don't like the way uni tries to get me to learn.
Okay.
So I was just sat down and I think I was reading something about dyslexia and all that type of stuff in speech therapy. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, hold on a second. Some of these things that they're referring to, which is reading things wrong and stuff like that, I have that. So what ended up happening was I did this dyslexia test. Mm-hmm. And if you score above a certain amount, you can then go to like some speech therapist and pay like 150 quid. And they will confirm that you have dyslexia and they'll send all this stuff to your university. I didn't need that. I already knew that I was kind of dyslexic. The test just confirmed it. I didn't pay for no bloody therapist. And I also didn't actually want it on my record. I was like, rather not. But yeah.
Interesting.
And
what makes you think that you can't be creative through like,
I
an
am
apprenticeship
creative.
route? No, through an apprenticeship route.
Well, no, but here's the thing of architecture as an industry.
Yeah.
It's low-key run by the client and the investors who put money into the business to make it flow, right? And a lot of the times they know absolutely nothing about architecture. So they're more concerned with me giving them a high rise, which can give them a better yield than a building that I think is architecturally a breakthrough.
Okay.
So in industry, you do tend to lose the essence of architecture because you need to run a business. It's a compromise, isn't it?
Do you know what you'd want to become an SME in? So, like, is there something in particular that you're like, like, I don't know how architecture works, but, like, for example, oh, I want to be the person that people call when they want a bridge making.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what it is that you want to be known for, I guess?
Long term?
Yeah.
I would...
Your niche.
I love that type of expressive design. Right now, in my final project, I'm doing, like, an immersive museum. I'm working with the senses. So I started this almost a few weeks ago. I haven't told you about it. But my architecture project is all about bringing out your natural senses. Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell.
Right.
How can we manipulate architecture to give you a more sensual, to give you a greater experience in that sense?
Okay.
So I would love to carry that on. But when someone invests millions into your firm and asks you for plans and sections for a high rise in the middle of the city, they couldn't give two shits about your senses.
So if I turned around to you and said, oh, actually, you know what? I'll take you on as an apprentice to finish off your master's. I know it's different for architecture, isn't it?
Yeah,
part one, part two. But let's just say like equivalent of. And you can do that. You can be creative, do whatever you want. I will give you the resources.
I'll do the apprenticeship straight away.
So that's basically
but
what
then
an apprenticeship
uni,
can
but
be,
then there's one more thing about uni, and you said this yourself. You said you missed out on it.
You miss out on the uni life.
Right, exactly.
But I'm still at uni. What am I in Manchester?
But you're in uni 3 times a year.
It's every Friday online. And then in person a week a term. So I'm covering
the same
content.
But do you not think that I get a richer experience than you?
I think it depends. It depends on what you prefer. So like, I don't want to do the academic stuff. I want to do the practical stuff. I want to work with, like companies and come up with an idea and do something and see a difference. I want to work with people who lead up in the industry and be able to turn around and like learn things from them rather than being sat in a classroom learning from a lecturer on slides that haven't been updated for the past 20 years.
Here's the thing for the architecture school. We have lectures once a week and we have studio once a week. The rest of the time is independent study, which actually kind of sucks, by the way, because we end up making a lot of mistakes. But it's just not the same as a regular degree that would have you in lectures constantly.
But during that independent study, imagine if you were working with a company that was funding your degree, so you're not leaving with the student debts as well, and you're able to do what you want at the same time.
I think you're kind of right, to be honest. Yeah, I think you're right. But there is one stat I will give you about apprenticeships, and this is 2022, 2023. They are down 6%.
In what sense?
People starting apprenticeships.
Is that because there are less apprenticeships, or is that because...
Well, you tell me, you're in the industry.
Great question.
Generally speaking, they are like more and more people, let's say since the time that you started until now, like introduce themselves into the world of apprenticeships. But why did the number go down over the last year? Something happened, or...?
See, our applications close within minutes. So like we put applications out from an IBM perspective and within minutes they close because they're so oversubscribed. Maybe there are different pathways rather than just apprenticeship. So T levels is another thing that students can do. That there are different pathways now, isn't there? Not just an apprenticeship pathway. Also, I think apprenticeships are starting to become harder to apply for than some degrees.
Because there's more people wanting to do them.
Yeah, but like JP Morgan, for example, I met 2 guys from JP Morgan not long ago, and we had a discussion about what their end in salary is going to be after the 4 years. And their end in salary after 4 years of starting is going to be 85 grand.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of money.
But I heard they get worked like absolute.
I'm not too sure what. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know what their working environment is like. But
they're bankers, right?
No, technical. So they were doing software engineering.
Oh, right. Okay.
And apprentices. So that's 4 years of like tailored education specific to kind of like what they're doing and like specific to the industry. And at the end of it, he said that, we'll be on 85k with a degree that they haven't had to pay for, which I think is...
That is a lot of money.
Really cool.
That is easily above the English average.
And if he wants to move to a different company, then they've got 4 years in industry. They've already been on a really high wage, so they don't ever expect to be on more. What more could you ask for?
That is good.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
They certainly wouldn't be going on strike right now.
You can imagine that's going to be hard to apply for, though.
Right.
Because what kind of people are they going to really be looking for? If you think about it, these are students that have just come straight out of school.
Well, hold on a second. If they are, let's just say, for the sake of argument, they are looking for kids with higher grades, then it almost defeats the purpose. Then...
Are they looking for kids for higher grades? Or are they looking for kids that have got different...
I don't know.
Different skills.
So when you got in, what do you think they were looking for?
Personality. Definitely. can you hold a conversation? What's the interview, like the interview process? Obviously there's an educational element into it, but as in like, I go to work and I like work with other apprentices and I think, shit, you're impressive. Like, I get why you've been hired. Like, I speak to people and I'm like, you're actually really cool. Not that I didn't think that they were, but as in like, they're really hiring people that have amazing personalities. The rest can be taught. The rest you can pick
That
up.
is true.
But it's the initial like captivating personality, especially in consulting, because that's what I do, right? You need the personality.
Someone actually said that to me less than 2 weeks ago in a studio session. He said that what keeps an architect in the office is the lack of being able to communicate.
Okay.
So he's like, if you can talk to people, if you can negotiate, you are more likely to go out there and do the client meetings and get your promotions.
Nice.
So communication is everything.
Yeah. Do you know, I remember actually in my interview, I just had a general chat with the manager that interviewed me, and I was like, oh, whatever, what football team and stuff do you just support, because I worked at a football stadium at the time, and we spoke about that. And then at the end he asked me a question. He goes, Tara, like, what makes somebody good at communicating, kind of thing? And I was like,
listening.
Somebody that listens. Yeah. And he was like, well, do you want to give me an example of that? And I was like, an example is that like, we've had this conversation for however long, and it doesn't matter that you support a really bad football team, because, you know, we've still had a great day. And he was like, that's incredible. He was like, I would have never thought for a second that would be the thing that came out of your mouth. And it's like to you, that was just small talk, right? But to me, I'm trying to figure out the kind of person you are in my head. And that's a skill that can't really be taught. That's a difficult skill to be able to communicate. I'm sure you've probably had people on the podcast that sometimes it's a little bit more work to get them to actually speak.
I actually would say I have chosen the right guess. However, Disclaimer. To your point,
yeah,
there are people who I have had to say no to. I haven't told them, like, I don't think you can communicate properly. But I've also thought to myself, being confident is really important. It's okay if you're nervous. That's fine. I've had people on here who have been nervous. That's okay. But once that camera starts rolling, how comfortable are you and how well can you talk to me? Yeah. That's why sometimes I lean towards people I have a natural chemistry with, because it makes it easier for them. You know, I can talk for days, and I know you can talk for days, but both of us talking together creates better contact than me and you talking to two strangers.
Yeah. Because
then it's like nights and Lazos talks, nights and Tara talks. It doesn't really work like that. Whereas Lazos and Tara talk together, it always seems natural. Two people who have the gift of the gab, as you would say. Hence why I have a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But it's more than that. What about the women representation in apprenticeships? What do you think about that?
It's low. Women representation in tech in general is low. Women on like the FTSE 500 is low.
Why?
Representation is just low. Like, these industries are...
No, but why do women...
We have to sacrifice more. I think if you think about it, at some point, you have to decide as a woman whether or not you want to focus on family or if you want to focus on career. A man can have both. But for a woman in this society, you have to decide. Many decide that family is what they want to go through, and many decide that, you know, working the way up the ranks is what they want to go through.
You said men can have both.
Yeah.
Is that the failure of the industry to prevent women from having both?
Society?
As a woman, explain to me why you can't have both. Actually explain what parts of the process would prevent you from going back to work, aside from the obvious pregnancy.
So I'm a consultant, right? Where am I this week?
Manchester.
Where are my family?
Derby.
Okay, where am I next week?
London.
Where are my family?
Derby.
There you go. Like, your client comes first. Do you know what time I got a message from my manager last night?
10 p.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m. And do you know what he was asking me? The expectation isn't that I reply back, but it was, Tara, can you do a workshop for Friday? I'm at uni all week.
But you still have to do it.
But I've got to do that workshop.
So when he's asking you, he's telling you.
But when am I going to be able to do that? It's going to be after uni, right? So uni finishes at 5. I get back to the hotel or whatever, go get something to eat. Then I'm going to be working on a workshop. When do I have time to do anything other than that?
That's a good point.
Okay, and let's say, for
But
example,
then,
I'm an early professional. Let's say I'm going further up the ranks, expected to do more. When am I going to have the time to do that? How do
but
I
is that
balance
your
that?
industry though?
Corporate world, I think, I imagine, is going to be like that. When we mentioned JP Morgan, you spoke about
The hours
how
they put
the
in.
hours that they work. What was it, 80 plus hours?
I was actually
that they were
surprised.
reported?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those bankers at Goldman Sachs and those man there,
But they're men.
right?
Mainly.
But listen, they actually this genuinely surprises me.
Yeah.
They work harder than architects, and as architects, we already slave away. So I was like, shit, there's people out there that work harder than doctors and architects.
Oh my God.
Or like they put in more hours.
Yeah.
But then 80 hours a week.
As a junior banker, that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
not even
do you think they deliberately kind of do that sometimes at the big companies to just get every bit of juice out of that fruit? Because they know that you desperately want to be here as well. When you actually get there, you don't work those 80 hours, do you?
What do you mean? At work?
After you've done your junior 4-year thing?
As a banker, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'd like to have a banker on here. Listen, if you're a banker and you want to chat to me,
that'd be interesting. Because I know that there are people that work 2 different time zones. So we'll have like a few hours in between it, and between those few hours, we'll go upstairs into a pod, sleep, and then come down for the next time zone.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but
no, but do you mean like in the same day?
In the same day.
So not 2 different shifts?
Not 2 different shifts.
Okay,
same day.
So I can see why that would make sense.
Why does that make sense? You've just worked 12 hours on one. You're going to have to go have a nap and work another 12 hours on the next?
Surely that's illegal.
But it's banking.
So you're telling me these guys actually legit work that hard?
Yeah, and say, for example, you can go up to a guy and go, and in the corporate world it happens as well, it's like, oh, you've got kids, who's looking after them? Oh, that's nice. And then you go to a woman and you go, oh, you've got kids, how irresponsible they are.
The stigma.
Yeah, like, not a very good mother. So I don't know, guess there's other things to think of, isn't there?
Do you not think, though, through legislation or through changes, those hours could be reduced? The pressure could be reduced on everybody, and then women could potentially work.
Are we not? Is there not a higher expectation on us than there are male counterparts as well, though? I say us as if you should know. Is there not, I feel like there's probably a higher expectation on women, let alone ethnic minorities, than there are on men.
How so? Why is there a higher expectation on you? I actually would say, from the Middle Eastern perspective, you can be you, as glamorous as you are, not have this apprenticeship, and still demand a top rank husband. So if we're getting cultural with this, there's much more on me.
Yeah.
You said there's more pressure on you as a Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
I pushed back and said, actually, no. As a man, as a Middle Eastern man, more is expected of me. And you can be yourself. You can be glamorous Tara and have a top rank husband and actually demand that. I get it. Finding a great partner is not easy.
Yeah.
But I'm Tiagate.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go. Why'd I go Kurdish?
Completely. Yeah. I get it. The Kinglish. The only thing is that you're suggesting that my aim is to have a high rank man, which of course is, but
no, I'm saying you can demand that. You actually can.
I can demand
no one's gonna turn around to Tara and say, why don't you make 100 grand a year?
Did you hear that?
That's true though. Am I not right?
Yeah, okay.
You might be exceeding those expectations, which I'm sure you are amazingly. The point is, just put yourself in a regular perspective. If you were going to get married, families are both Kurdish. Okay. Not a single family member would turn around and say, Tara should be earning more because she needs to pay for the mortgage and she needs to pay for the house. You could literally just sit there and say, I want all of this, I want all of that. And
can I throw in a different perspective?
Go on.
So let's use the banking perspective, right? Because we've got figures there. So you come out of school, how old are you? 18?
18.
Fresh.
You come out of college or sixth form.
Yeah, 18. Add 4 years onto that, 22. Right? And at the age of 22, said person, 85 grand. Most likely has a property. Right?
I would assume so.
You'd assume so. Has probably a comfortable savings account.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably can afford to buy themselves things that, and I'm not saying this is the case for me, by the way, this is just,
well, you're talking about banking anyway. You're in tech.
Exactly. Like, as a 22-year-old, how many 22-year-old men within like ethnic minorities are going to be on that level or higher? That you know. Let's just talk about the guys that you know.
Not many. It's not easy because...
So you're demanding a high-ranked men from what?
Oh, I mean, as in from a girl's perspective?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
From where is this group of
said
men that you talk of? So said person A here, 22, 85k, probably on more. I don't know, but we're talking about...
To be fair, I would say I know a bunch of lads who refrain from going to uni. You know, they do all their things. You know what they do with their finances and shit.
Yeah.
They do put a lot of money together. Generally, they're in different fields that don't require academia.
Yeah.
And they could potentially have that type of money.
Would they feel threatened by being with said
I don't know.
A?
See, no one should feel threatened. I can see why that would make you want to work a bit harder. And actually, no, you shouldn't be competing with your partner.
Okay, but we're talking about Kurdish community here.
Right, I'm Kurdish.
Okay, well, look at this from a Kurdish community
I would not compete with my wife.
Look at this from like a actual like
typical
Kurdish
But we're
community.
not trying to throw that representation out there. We want to make things better, Tara. Me and you should be an example.
That's true.
That's actually facts.
That's actually facts.
I don't care how arrogant that sounds.
It's true.
There's levels to this shit.
There is.
And you're looking at them. There's two of us right here.
There is levels to this shit.
Why am I going to compete with my wife?
It's true. Does this segue into relationships quite well? I feel like it does.
Oh my god.
This is where we both know exactly what it's like, you know.
Yeah. We could keep this going forever, but I think we need to stay on where we're on.
We could keep this going for forever. I think the point here is, please summarize.
The point is that you're saying with the responsibilities of a woman in general, let alone a Middle Eastern one that has more traditional values, it is very difficult for you to maintain your career or keep it going once you get married. And that would mean that you have to sacrifice a lot.
You'd have to plateau, right? And then you'd see Tom, Dick and Harry.
All three of them. Going past you.
And you've just got to sit there and be like, scrolling through LinkedIn and going, CEO, CTO, and like knowing damn well that yourself could have made it there so much quicker had you not been, or is that a misconception? Do we feel like actually having kids
life is full of sacrifices. Hold on. If this doesn't just happen for women though, it might happen for women in a more obvious way, but even as a man, it gets to a point where, and I think I've not been married, but from what I know, this probably happens after you've had a few kids, maybe 5 to 10 years into a relationship. It gets to a point where you making good money and having a great job and working long hours no longer works for your wife, and she's actually thinking to herself, this guy is never in. So maybe what the perspective is, or what the truth is that for women, you have to sacrifice earlier. So your career kind of stops if you want to be a full-time mother.
I don't know if I agree.
Does it or does it not?
I'm just thinking.
But then for men, it can happen in the long run because the career and the level they're trying to attain will affect their marriage. Yes or no?
Yes, but at the same time, if you now have
How
kids...
long, I have a question. Yeah. How long can a woman stay with a man who, because of work, spends minimal time with the family and then is probably always tired, gives minimal time of affection to his wife?
Yeah.
How long is the excuse of, I make great money, good enough for the family?
I don't know if I can comment on that, you know. Firstly, because I don't think it's within my remit. But secondly, I also think that you then get accustomed to a way of life. That money gives you a way of life. That money gives you that holiday home. That money gives you the holidays.
But you know what humans are like, and eventually they'll turn around and they'll say, I don't care about the money anymore. You're never here.
How are we going to fund your kids to go to private school?
Good question, but they'll still argue about it.
Yeah, but it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, realistically speaking, how is that going to happen? And you know, I don't know.
But does that just prove to you that everyone has to sacrifice for their career?
Eventually. But do you not feel a little bit more fulfilled because you were able to have more time to accomplish what you wanted to?
Yeah, if I was to have 10 years of podcaster compared to 5, I'd probably prefer to 10.
Yeah.
As long as it was going well and consistent.
And you know that within those next 5 years that you've got a wife at home that's looking after the kids and you get to sort that family life out as well without really having to interfere too much.
Yeah, and I'd feel very lucky.
Yeah.
So, how do you think the industry changes that? There has to be a solution. There's never a problem without a solution.
I mean, there's a guy that I work with at the moment, and he was the first ever man to, in their company, to take paternity leave.
How? Why?
It's just
for his wife, or he couldn't do it for himself.
Couldn't do it for himself, could he?
But I think I've heard of that before. Actually, men can take that
paternity leave.
Yeah.
So you look after the kid that I've just carried for 9 months.
No, I thought it was that they'll both be there anyway, because women don't return to work straight away.
Maternity leave and paternity leave. Yeah. So things like that, obviously, that actually
without it actually affecting your career.
Well, that's as a man, you're now taking time off work to look after your wife or partner, whatever scenario.
But shouldn't companies be more empathetic towards that? What if it's not kids? What if I'm ill? Am I supposed to get diagnosed with something and then not have the same level of job when I come back just because I almost died and I should have worked through my death?
Yeah, you're right.
It's a cutthroat world out there.
Yeah, but you'll be replaced. Wasn't there a tweet the other day that was like...
Surely there have to be some laws against that. Like, you can't just replace me because I've fallen ill.
In my world of consulting, if I were to be ill tomorrow, stuff will, I hope not, touch words, but if anything were to happen to me tomorrow, but like, and they needed someone to do the jobs that I'm doing, I'm not going to wait for me to get better. They're just going to put someone else in the place. Surely,
as a company, they have a responsibility to you because you're their employee and you have a contract with them.
I'm sure that said person would still get paid and said person will find a new role when they come back.
Right. So you're taken care of.
Yeah, but you can't pick up where you left, and then you've got to build those relationships
Well,
again.
no, not if you've left the project halfway through. But it's life and things come your way.
That's true.
What if you're mourning the death of someone? Like, the amount of times we hear that... Do you know the way I see it, by the way? Think generally, don't think architecture, don't think corporate. I think the busier you are, the more money you make. Right? And when I say busier, I actually just mean responsibility. So I always use the primary school or a school as an example. You have your regular teachers, you have your senior teachers, and then you have your head of years and vice head of years and stuff like that. Now, all of these, well, the head teacher actually doesn't teach, generally speaking. They just have to manage and run the whole school. The seniors and all of that, they'll teach as well, but they also get calls. So I don't know what your high school was like. But for example, regular teacher here at the bottom of the pyramid, something's going wrong. Now they have to get in touch with the senior teacher who's also teaching, but to also, I've not said this properly, to take care of this misbehaving child.
Okay.
Because they don't have the authority or... You know what I'm trying to say? So the higher up you go, the more responsibility you go, and indirectly that makes you more busy.
Okay.
So you have more people working underneath you, but you have more to deal with, and heavy is the head that wears the crown.
So do you think a head teacher has to deal with more than an actual teacher does?
100%.
Okay.
You also manage and keep... Well, they do.
Okay.
But that's how it works. I feel like the higher you go up...
Yeah.
So CEOs are notorious for working crazy hours.
Yeah.
But then they also get paid the big bucks.
They also get people to do a lot of the groundwork.
True, but they have to... At some point, you can't do all of the groundwork, though.
It's true.
So you, at IBM, have had maybe... Well, I don't know, actually. You've had promotions, I assume, because you've been working your way up and you have 21 Grammys. Right?
Right.
I'll tell you guys what that is eventually.
Right.
But you see what I'm trying to say? So,
okay.
So maybe you have people under you now that you could ask to do certain things. No?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so if I didn't want to do a presentation deck, no longer have to do that.
And that will keep carrying on, won't it?
Yeah.
But that doesn't lessen how many hours you work, because you probably work more hours now than you did.
Use those hours to do like other stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Is it also? Am I also right in saying that you work more hours now than you did when you first joined IBM?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've always worked quite a few hours anyway. If I'm being
so has it
honest,
stayed consistent, or has it increased or decreased?
I think that the work-life balance at IBM is genuinely really good. Like last Monday, I was in the office. Obviously, not many people are in the office now anyway because of COVID.
Still?
Yeah, no, offices are still pretty empty. People really only go to socialise. But as in, like, it was 6:30 because I just finished an event. Looked around and the lights were off. And that happens quite frequently. Like, it hits 5 o'clock and people will be logging off. But I would say that COVID has changed our normal ways of working.
Can I ask you something? Has COVID made people more efficient?
COVID has changed our ways of working,
not
for
catching
sure.
COVID.
in a sense is definitely, we're more virtual. So less travel is needed. Rather than traveling, you're using that time to do work. So definitely more efficient.
Yeah, the commute is really long.
Yeah.
People don't realise how much the commute is.
But what's the difference between your work and your life when it's all under the same roof?
It's depressing.
So I'm working here, but I've got a child next to me that I'm also having to look after at the same time.
Yeah, or in
Like,
my
there's
case, a
very
cat.
thin boundaries. Yeah, but there are
You
no
don't have a
boundaries.
kid, do you?
I don't.
I actually need to confirm that, yeah.
No, definitely not. But there isn't a boundary anymore, is there? And you know what? I think it depends on how efficient you are in your role as well. Realistically, if I can do my job that used to take me 2 hours in the office because people would talk to me so much in an hour, I can use that hour to do something else. So I take on more work. Right?
So COVID has actually helped the industry after taking a big hit financially.
Well, Twitter, when Elon Musk bought, obviously for different reasons, but when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he got rid of what, 3,000 employees?
Oh, because they were just being lazy. That was no, but there's a difference to this. I don't think people at IBM are taking as much leisure time as they were at Twitter.
You know?
Did you see? Well, you tell me. You work at IBM. Well, I saw a walkthrough, sorry, and I also, oh no, actually, these videos went viral on TikTok. Some employees were actually showing their regular work week, and the amount of breaks they were taking, the amount of times they were taking coffees during meetings. They had yoga rooms. They had everything. Now, this sounds like a dream ideal place to work. I get it, but it does look inefficient. Does IBM do that? The answer is blatantly no. Do architecture firms do that? No. So is Elon Musk wrong or right for sacking 3,000 people who probably took more coffees in a day than meetings?
If you're gonna hire me to do something, right, and it takes me an hour to do it, right, that's what you're paying. You're paying the job. You're not paying me to see how long it's going to take me to do it, right?
Right, but could me as the manager, could I be the problem if I say to you, Tara, job A, how many hours? You say 4.
Isn't that more of a management problem than it is a work? Have you
exactly?
Heard about...
It's management.
Yeah.
Management have to, just like how a football team has a manager, they have to keep them on track.
Yeah.
Right. So if I let you take 4 hours for something that's supposed to take 2, that's my fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. You get paid the same amount, and you get to chill more and relax more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have you heard about this became super popular during COVID? It was people that were taking on multiple jobs and working from home.
Yes.
So the idea was that there was this one person that did an entire Reddit post about how their salary was hitting like a mil. He was in tech. So he basically got like gigs that were paying him 150, 200K, whatever. And he set the expectation from them. He was like, I have other responsibilities. If you don't need me in meetings, then don't add me to it. It took him about an hour to 2 hours a day to do the work that he needed to do. He'd move on to the next laptop, next company.
Firstly, that tells me either this guy is very efficient or the jobs are easier than people think.
You're paying him for his skills.
That's what the market pays for. It pays you for your skill.
You're paying him for the work. You're paying him for the work to do. Obviously, it only works in certain industries. You can't do that with every industry. But in the tech industry, if you're a full-blown techie and you know what, you're the only person that knows about this certain thing and this certain aspect, they're going to pay you stupid money to do that. And if that's only going to take you an hour of like your time,
that is interesting.
What's it to them? They just need the work done.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that is very interesting.
Working from home has enabled that, because if you're sat in the office, it's not like you can whip out your 4 other laptops.
I don't. Oh yeah, because then you'd be yeah.
How would that look to other people as well, in front of like other people that you work with?
How has COVID actually impacted your general life at IBM? What was it like before?
It's the social aspects, which I actually really genuinely miss as well. Like, you know, those water cooler conversations that you'll have and you'll be like, oh, I'm super interested.
You mean the generic, boring ones that you have to make with someone because...
No.
Because you're like, I have to say hi to this person, I work with them.
Not necessarily.
I hate that shit.
See, you know what? In as a consultant, you're supposed to network. That's the whole point, right? But it's hearing what other projects other people are working on. And during COVID at the start, it just became people were just putting in coffee catch-ups in your diary constantly. And it's like, realistically speaking, it feels forced. You don't know what to talk about. You're stuck there speaking to someone for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes because it's in your diary. And you don't really even know what it is that you have to talk to them about. Whereas like you meet someone when you're making a coffee and you go, what project are you working on? Oh my God, you're working on that? I would love to work on that. Can you get me on that? Yeah, I can get you on that. Okay, cool. Now I've just landed myself a new project, which you just don't have at home because you're not really communicating to people. And if you are, you communicate to them for a reason, or it's a forced conversation, like you said.
My question would be, if this job has been delegated properly, you shouldn't be able to jump on it because they have the sufficient numbers already.
Doesn't work that way though.
Doesn't?
No.
Explain it to me.
Different projects, they'll move through the cycles and they'll expect different things and they'll want different skills. And say, for example, I want to do service design and this project all of a sudden needs a service designer. How would I know that they're looking for a service designer other than through those conversations?
That's a good point.
And that's already a network that I have because I'm already having to catch up with them because I'm already being like, oh my God, hi, you're right. And then from there, it's just naturally segued into that.
Have you ever strategically put yourself in that little conversation to try and get a job?
I've definitely strategically placed myself in certain areas to speak to the right people to do additional stuff. So maybe not project-wise, because the projects that I work on tend to be quite set. But like when I was doing the BAME stuff, for example, there'll be certain rooms that I will be in because I know that those people have connections elsewhere that would support the team. Yeah, for sure.
Whose idea was it to set up the BAME stuff?
Mine.
And that was one of your awards, right?
Yeah, so that actually setting that up, it was the first ever externally recognized group external to IBM that has ever been put forward for an award as well.
Tell everyone about that. So what did you actually do? How did you do it? How did you go around setting it up?
Yeah, okay. So obviously with everything that happened with George Floyd,
I remember.
Yeah, it turned quite awkward. Like if you're an ethnic minority in a group, it felt like it needed to be talked about, and they just turn around and be like, okay, well, Tara, you're brown. You talk about it. And it would be like, and this isn't like a company.
Wait, are you not considered
specific thing?
White?
No, brown.
Well, that's smell neat.
Do you not think?
Okay, you're darker than me, but everyone's darker than me.
I get called Indian all the time.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. I worked on this project once and the guy was
like... Nah, those people just don't know what Indians look like.
Honestly, the guy was like, you'll fit into this project. And I was like, oh my God, will I? And he was like, yeah, because everyone here is like landed. Landed basically means when they come from India. So they're basically cheaper, brought over from India, and they work on just a set project and their rent and stuff is covered. And he was like, yeah, you'll fit right in because loads of Indians on this account. And I was thinking, all right, I'm not Indian, so that's fun.
But you also think those people misconstrued you for Indian because they've not met many Middle Easterns in their life, so they just recognize what they've seen.
Yeah, like even when it came
it's like calling it'd be like calling every Middle Eastern person Iraqi or Syrian because you've only ever met them and you forget that Lebanon exists and Saudi Arabia exists and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know how you got India, so you know.
When I tried to set up minority ethnic group for the wider IBM, there weren't enough people.
How many people in your team were BAME?
So I did early professionals. So there were two separate things.
Is the answer 0?
No. So there's two separate things for that. So I tried to set up minority ethnic for the wider company, and there was very, very few. As in, there aren't numbers because it's not it isn't registered.
Okay.
There are very, very few numbers that it just didn't make sense to have a minority ethnic group. When I set up the BAME group, early professional embrace now it's called. A lot more ethnic minorities in comparison to the wider business because it's an easier access into the business. Obviously a lot lower down, and these individuals that are finding themselves here aren't seeing representation further up. Facts, not just in the company that I work for, but across sector, across the industry really. But numbers were a lot higher. For minority ethnic, still not that high. For Black individuals, higher, because obviously the Black campaign have positioned themselves that they're a lot stronger. You
said to me the problem was that there is not enough representation.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, in these apprenticeships roles, sometimes in the technology sector. And you said, as you said, your job with setting up all these things for the people that fall into the BAME category.
Yeah.
It was very important and almost the first of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
You said we need more representation. I said yes, but also you need more of these people to apply for these roles.
Yeah.
Which you pushed back on.
Did I?
You did. Initially, I think you said to me, no, it's not just that. Why don't they accept more of them?
Right.
But where's your stance now? Because I do think one of the biggest problems as why we don't have more minority and ethnic minorities in these centers, in these sectors, is because they don't apply for the jobs.
I think it's a case of positive discrimination as well. It's like if there's
positive discrimination.
Yeah.
How can such a thing exist?
So it's the idea that, say, for example, you have a white person and you have a brown person, and the white person's evidently a lot better than the brown person because maybe they came across better in the interview, right?
Are they more relatable to the interviewer?
To the role, yeah. To the interviewer, to the role, because that's another thing that I looked at. One of the initiatives was making sure that the interviewers were more representative as well, which is another thing that I worked on. But anyway, back to the point. You then go, actually, I'm going to go with the brown person because numbers and we need more brown faces. Is that fair? They weren't better suited for the job. The white person was. But for numbers and for stats and, give them an opportunity, the brown person is then given the role over the white person.
I think you are creating better representation and in the long run more inclusivity, but immediately you take a hit in a sense that you've hired the person less suited for the job.
And they're probably not going to work their way up the ranks. So from a representation perspective, they're probably never going to be that person that are going to be able to relate to, because they're probably never going to get that high up. But what about a said white person that comes in and actually looks for BAME talent that is incredible, brings them up, sponsorship, mentorship, gets them into high places? They then become the representation for new ethnic minorities that are coming into the company.
So you in 5 years?
Me in 5 years.
You in 5
Inshallah.
years?
Me in 3.
You in 3 years?
Me in 3 years.
What a flex. Your life would be complete. All you have to do is meet Lord Sugar.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what the best bit is?
Kaka Shakir.
My favourite thing is about Alan Sugar is the fact that when he came out of school, he applied for IBM.
And they said no to him.
And they said no to him.
How dare they?
They said...
And you work for said company that said no to Alan Sugar.
This is amazing, right? So they said no to him and he then turned around, whatever, continues on about his day and then creates Amstrad, which is his tech company that then partners with IBM for a lot of stuff. Incredible. And then fast forward a few years later, he owns the IBM building.
Oh,
South
wow.
Bank. Yeah.
I love that.
Amazing.
What a legend.
What a legend.
What a legend.
So yeah, love that about him.
Tell everyone about your 21 Grammys.
21
and
Grammys.
Explain to everybody why I call it Grammys.
Looking for a Nobel Peace Award.
Yeah.
Next. Yeah, so IBM have been incredible and have given me a platform to kind of reach out externally as well. And they have put me forward for multiple awards. European awards, national awards. That thankfully I've won a few of them. Got a little bit of a trophy cabinet going on.
Just a bit.
Just a bit.
Your polish.
Yeah, doing it for the Kurdish community.
Do you ever get pissed off with any of your managers and then you just put them onto FaceTime and you bring one of your awards and you start
I'm like do you mind? Do you know what the best thing is? And this is why I talk about mentorship, and this is why I say it's so important for white males in the industry that understand their privilege and know that they're in places of power to be able to give ethnic minorities a space and time. So when I first joined, I didn't find a project. There wasn't a project that I could work on. My mentor put me under his wing, and he is the reason why I won my first ever award, because he put me forward for it.
Did you thank him in the ceremony?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, like, profusely. And that was my first ever award, which was a Rising Star Award that he put me forwards for. Had he not put me forwards for that, would have I ended up being put forward for other awards?
The catalyst was putting you forward for that, yeah.
Yeah, but it was having him and it was having him back me that I think is so important. And that's why it is important to understand your privilege in place. And,
I like that.
Pass that on.
So what's the actual number of your awards?
It's not that many. There isn't that many.
It's not 21.
It's not 21.
But I just like to say 21 Grammys.
There's a few. Alhamdulillah, there's a few.
Which is your best?
Which is my best?
Which is your most
accomplished? Do you know what? I won European Software Tester Award.
That is actually mad. So you beat everyone else.
Do you know what the
Europe.
best thing is that there were a few people from Turkey in that category. Mate, going up for that award as a Kurdish person. Mate.
Yeah. I bet they tried to rig it. Sorry, person can't win said award because
they have no country.
Yeah.
So what?
They should get sacked for those comments.
Yeah.
Wow, why are Turks always creating problems in your life?
I know. Do you know what? There was this one Turkish guy that I worked with, and he continuously would mispronounce and say my name
Deliberately.
Deliberately. My name is 4 letters long.
Yeah.
Like, how do you continue? He used to call me Taran.
What a bullshit.
What a little.
No,
if you're
what a
listening to
guy.
this, I'm glad you got and left. Not because of that, I don't know. But yeah, that was probably my favorite one. And the best thing is that I had originally called the mentor who put me forward for my first ever award. I was like, oh my God, you'll never guess what. He was like, what? I was like, I've been put forwards for the European award. He's like, Tara, you're not going to win that. Don't worry. They're looking for people with actual software testing skills. I don't have any software testing
Don't
skills.
undermine yourself. You still won the award.
Minimal.
Right.
And I ended up winning the award, and I ran outside and I called him and I went, I freaking won it. And he sent me a message afterwards and he goes, your accomplishments mean so much to me. It's like one of my own kids winning them.
Oh.
And I just thought, how amazing.
That is so cute.
That is so sweet.
That is so nice. What a man.
What a man.
What a Donny.
What a Donny.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to him.
Yeah.
I call him out all the time, so I won't call him out on this one. But yeah, what a babe.
So
we
are leading towards the end.
I've loved this.
This has been brilliant.
This has been great.
I'm definitely keeping that part in.
This was good.
When did we actually plan this? Years ago I asked you to come on.
Forever ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you eventually did, so I'm glad.
And I eventually did.
Also, little side note, me and Tara were meant to discuss something completely different, which I will keep a secret for now. And if you guys want it, you can tell us what that was. But I like that we did this.
I preferred this for now.
Listen, you've done great in your field, and that's not me trying to be nice to you. You should know me by now. Like, I won't give a compliment for the sake of it. What would your advice be to other people like you?
You know what? There are so many different pathways. Check them out. Speak to people. And you know what? Your parents will come round. Once they see the kind of things you accomplished.
Once you're successful, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Once
it's
you're
like,
buying
I'm sure some
people.
Houses, yeah, paying their rent.
Yeah.
So that thing does pay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How does if someone is listening to this right now and they're at university, can they still go into apprenticeships after their degree? Or
They can do a master's apprenticeship as well. So that's another option if you want to actually do a master's apprenticeship. There are loads of companies that do that. So you can have a look at those. Obviously, it's competitive because you're getting it funded. So, you're basically getting a free degree.
What would your advice be then? How do you get past that initial stage of being employed?
Stand out. There's going to be something about you that other people don't have, whether you've realised that or not. What's yours?
What's mine?
What's yours?
I'm not sure.
You made a comment earlier about...
Oh, for real? No. I'm that guy.
You're that guy?
That's it.
But you also made a comment earlier about what keeps you in the office. In architecture.
I do like the idea of enjoying what I do.
Yeah, but you made a comment about...
the creative, the sense stuff.
What keeps you is the communication bit.
Oh. Yeah. If you're not able to... I can communicate well.
There you go.
And actually, I've always been able to communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
Now having a podcast just puts that on steroids. So...
there you go.
I would like to think humbly that I have that part of I have that covered. I think we're both likable people. I think that matters. I think being able to smile even when things aren't going great for you, and not to go too deep, but if you wake up, you have a shit day, but you can still come to the office and make everyone feel good. I think that's great as well. All
aspects that you can use towards your application.
Yeah, but then everyone would say that. It's like a CV, and everyone says they're hardworking and punctual. No, but how are you supposed to know when I'm being interviewed? I'm consistent with
your evidence.
Yeah. Way to put me on the spot there.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure that was even a good answer from me.
We can work on it.
I think it was horrible.
It wasn't the best that you could have come with.
I wouldn't get employed for IBM at this rate, would I?
Just pray I'm not interviewing you, innit? And you get the positive discrimination in there.
I'm supposed to...
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, let's just talk. We'll see where we get to.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
This has been good.
This has been really fun.
This has been really good.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I need to plug my channel. So please don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to my channel.
Go on. I'll put the link in the bio.
Yeah, link here. Can you do that? Can you enter it?
I could if you had a link.
Ouch! Power of manifestation. Have you not spoken about this?
It's pseudo healing. I don't like it. So many people out there are just saying things like, Well, you know, if I do yoga 3 times a week.
I put CEO in my email signature.
Well, you're not a CEO, and that's not going to make you a CEO.
Who's going to know?
I'm going to know.
It says apprentice CEO. I should go on The Apprentice.
You should go on The Apprentice.
I should go on The Apprentice.
No, I genuinely think you should. And then you would meet Lord Sugar. But then they say don't meet your heroes. Actually, no, meet your heroes.
Yeah. Do you watch Dragon's Den?
Oh. I mean, it's good. I kind of prefer Shark Tank.
Yeah, I feel like if The Apprentice was more like businessy and less like entertainment, I would.
It's nice entertainment though. Oh, and you've got savvy comments.
I've got savvy comments.
Tara, Lord Sugar would put you in the boardroom every week just for the ratings.
You know, talking about that, one of the guys that gave the presenter, two of the presenters of one of the events that I won an award at were actually The Apprentice.
Winners or participants?
Participants. Neither of them won.
Oh.
But it's quite funny because he's got me on recording because I went up for one of the awards, went back down, and then the next one, it was my personal award. So I went back up and I went, oh, I might as well just stand here. And what could you lazy in it? And I was like, it's true. But it picked up on the mic.
Wow.
Yeah. Quite funny.
That's a lot coming from a guy who couldn't even win The Apprentice.
Exactly. I'm the lazy one.
Yeah.
You're a presenter now.
Yeah, mate, you had an opportunity, mate.
Business opportunity didn't work out for you, did it?
Yeah. Gaga Shaker doesn't like you. No, I think Lord Sugar's brilliant. So yeah, we've had a great time.
This has been great.
Yeah,
you should read his book.
Yes.
Maybe you could do a podcast on Alan Sugar.
Would you come back on for it?
Yeah.
What other podcast would you come on for?
Whatever the fans want.
What about cultural representation overall as a huge conversation, not just in tech?
You know, actually talking about that, right? Going into tech, and I know
we can call it Life as a Middle Eastern with Lazos and Tara.
Yeah, East meets West.
Okay, we're both a bit more westernized than our other Kurdish friends.
No one needs to know that.
It's a good thing.
It's not like Kurdish friends are quite questionable.
Yeah, exactly. Some of our Kurdish friends are very questionable.
Anyway, back onto the quick...
They're watching that now like I was going to say nice things.
Quick last point, just on that.
No names were mentioned.
Yeah. Going into the tech world, I obviously expected it to be heavily white male dominated, right? I wasn't expecting it to be heavily white female dominated.
Oh, that's good.
So I walk into the office the first day. This is my first ever day into the office, and there are this is in the old office, and there are I think 4 screens on either side, massive screens, right?
Madness.
And massive.
No, I said madness. Carry on.
Oh, I thought you said something else. Okay, 4 massive screens on either side, and it was a rotation of women in IBM, and all of them looked like different variations of our CEO, who at the time was a white lady, blonde hair, blue eyes, and it was just a rotation. And I think after about 10 minutes of being stood there was a rotation of a brunette in there. But apart from that, the rest were all variations, white.
That's strange. Women. Why do you think they were all blonde and blue-eyed? Do blonde and blue-eyed people like IBM?
Maybe they were looking... We bleed blue. Maybe they were looking for female representation, and that's the representation that they had. And I kind of went in on myself. I was like, I was expecting there to be... white male dominated. I wasn't prepared for white female dominated.
Is that worse or better?
It's a different kettle of fish. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah, but I just thought...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially to end on.
Yeah.
So you guys just got a little story time there. That was brilliant. So Tara, thank you for coming on again.
Thank you.
Guys, like, subscribe, share, all the usual stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Let us know if you want Tara back on again. I mean, she'll be back on. You will be back on. You will be back on regardless, because there was a podcast that we were meant to record, which we didn't do today. Yeah. But until then, thank you. Take care. See you around.
Nice.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and follow.